Hello and welcome to the final qualifying session of the season and our final SRTCC round of the year. It's time for the championship finale here at Brands Hatch GP Circuit, taking place in the Simply Race venue. Now, even though the championship is all wrapped up with Lewis Manley taking the championship victory in the previous round, that doesn't mean that there's still not lots to play for in the other titles. So, got a lot still to come. Now, we've got quite a few guest entries this round. So we have Jack Bonney from the Porsche Challenge Series making his debut into the touring cars. Then we have Callum Wilson also making his debut in the SRTCC Championship. We also have returning to us Matt Richards and Callum Cripps, who most of you will know as a former multiple champion of the SRTCC Championship. So we've got a lot of talent today. Our first sold out grid of the year. Unfortunately, Stuart Pringle yet to arrive at the venue due to some traffic issues, so hopefully he will be able to get to the venue soon. But we are underway with qualifying, so everybody on their outlaps now. We're watching Lewis Manley, your Simply Race British Touring Car Champion, as I said, securing the championship at the previous round at Knock Hill. Now, in practice, Lewis was fastest, followed by Matt Richards, then Aidan Carter. So that was our top three for practice. Whether that is an outlier for qualifying remains to be seen, as practice is more a sort of race pace sort of practice. However, it could lead to some very fast lap times. We saw Lewis putting in some very impressive lap times at the end of the session, but being closely followed by Richards and Carter. Other noteworthy performances in the practice session was Gareth Boyle in P6, which was very impressive for Gareth, looking like he's got some good pace this weekend. John Dean Smith in the 8th and Jack Bonney in 9th. Anyway, we move on to qualifying now. So, as you can see, Lewis Manley is just shaping himself up to start his first attempt at a flying lap. Because we have 14 out of 15 cars on the circuit, lap times are going to come in thick and fast. So keep an eye on that timing tower, because it's going to be quite difficult for me to keep up with it all by myself. Today, it is just myself commentating. Unfortunately, Dan McCallum is in Texas, so it's not unfortunate for him because he's watching the MotoGP, which is very exciting for him. But yes, so we will look forward to seeing Dan at our at our future championship events, and hopefully he will be back on comms with us then. But I hope he's having a great time in America thus far. So Lewis Manley then on his first lap is going through Druids as we come down the short little straight from Druids going into Graham Hill Bend, down into around third gear, carrying the speed, try not to run too wide onto those track limits. Not the fastest we've seen in Sector 1, but a 25.975. It is the fastest first sector that we've seen so far on this qualifying run out of everyone else that's gone through Sector 1. So as he goes through Surtees onto Pilgrim's Drop, which will drop down in just a moment. You'll see it drop down through here, and then we go into Hawthorne Bend, which is a really high speed corner, down to 5th gear, turn in, carry the speed through the corner, try not to run too wide. Lewis Manley does run a little bit wide there, so that'll catch him out a little bit. He will lose a little bit of speed, but a 40.831 so far. Apologies, my commentary appears to be a little bit behind. Manley with a purple middle sector as he comes through the final corner, clearways, really pushing the car now, and he goes P3 with that. Oh no, P1 with that attempt with a 129.397. Matt Richards with a 129.686, and Ben Bennyworth with a 1 minute 30.664 is your top three. So, will anyone stay out and continue trying to do another lap? I think a few will. Some people won't be very happy with their first attempts. Callum Cripps being one of those, and Gareth Boyle being another one of those. Chris Wilson abandoning that lap and coming straight into the pit lane, so not too sure what's happened there. And Callum Wilson has not set a legal lap time himself. So, we go on to the second attempts then. So Manley going around again. Not a great first sector for Manley. I've got a feeling he's just going to come straight into the pit lane. However, it must be said that Ben Bennyworth has put in a really tasty first sector. So we will cut to Ben Bennyworth. The 26.237. So really nice time from him. So one of my timer pages has just gone down. So let me just repair that very quickly as we watch everybody go around the circuit. So much action going on that the timing screens can't keep up. There we go, that appears to have fixed that. So here we go then. So there's Ben Bennyworth coming through the final corner. It's definitely going to be a personal best lap for himself. Will he improve and get closer to the top two? He does a 1:29 and actually drops down to P4 because Aiden Carter has improved to go up to P3. Callum Cripps is currently on a really fast lap with a purple middle sector, but it looks like he's not had a great final sector, so still a little bit off the pace. Very ragged there from Callum Cripps, our former champion of this series, but this is his first time in these cars this season, so probably just taking a few laps just to get used to it. Matt Richards now is absolutely flying on the circuit with a 25.7 in Sector 1. Really nice first sector time for Matt Richards. As you can see, it's a purple time as he goes down Pilgrim's Drop, coming into Hawthorne Bend. So as I was saying before, fifth gear corner, dab of the brakes, turn in, carry the speed through the corner, try not to run too wide on the exit because you'll just really compromise your next bend. Onto the small straight into Westfield, and then up down the dip, which is Dingle Dell. Really interesting corner, this one into Sheen. Really technical corner. You've got to really keep it tight and not run too wide on the exit because you will spin if you touch that grass on the outside. Coming into Sterling's, really nice exit from Sterling's there from Matt Richards as we come up to the approach of Clark Curve and Clearways. Braking nicely, getting to about fourth gear, carrying the speed through the exit. Relatively nice exit there from Matt Richards. It looks like we're going to see a really good lap time here. A 1:29.2 last time round. This time it's a 1:28.6. So a huge advantage there for Matt Richards as Aiden Carter goes P2 and Lewis Manley in P3. Jack Bonney's just sneaked into P4, but that's just been instantly taken away by Callum Cripps as well there. So positions changing thick and fast. Expect to see drivers starting to come into the pit lane as well to put on some fresh rubber. Watching Chris Wilson now, he's put in a personal best for Sector 1, which is a 26.147, which is a pretty decent first sector, as he's coming through the second sector now. Nice bit of braking here, turning in the car. The Vauxhall always looking absolutely calm in Chris's hands. Very little oversteer, very well balanced. And as I say very little oversteer, we get very pointy going through Sheens there as we come out on the exit of Sterling's onto the Clearway straight, going under the bridge, getting ready to brake till about third gear for the final corner. Carrying the speed, not running too wide, but just building the throttle nice and calmly, getting onto the start-finish straight. Not a huge amount of straights here, which does mean the tyres get a lot of punishment. 1:29.593 is good enough for P4 for Chris Wilson, which puts him ahead of previous champion Callum Cripps. I think he's going to be absolutely flabbergasted for that. I think that's brilliant time for Chris Wilson. So keep an eye on the timing screens. It looks like we've got some other personal bests coming around the circuit. So let's jump on board with John Dean Smith here, who's put in a personal best in Sector 1. Looking really lovely in the Napa coloured Ford Focus. Not the best middle sector, but let's see what he can do in this final corner as he's coming in. Going to get nice and early on the brakes just here, then turn in, carry the apex. Really nice apex there from John. That's the perfect way to execute the corner, just carrying that minimum speed, and he's going to come across the line and he's going to do a 1:29.876. So it is a personal best for John. He goes to P6, but Callum Wilson has just outdone him and jumped up to P6 himself. So currently your order, as we have 6.5 minutes to go, is Matt Richards, Aiden Carter, Lewis Manley, Chris Wilson, Callum Cripps, Callum Wilson, John Dean Smith, Jack Bonney, Ben Bennyworth, Ben Crisp, Gareth Boyle, Josh Vincent, Charlie Keir and Dale Crisp, bringing up the rear with Stuart Pringle still yet to set a lap time. So we continue the action at Brands Hatch, and we're just keeping an eye on those sector times. Aiden Carter has just put in a personal best first sector and a purple middle sector. This could be a challenge for pole position. He is half a second off of Matt Richards at the moment. So let's see what Aiden can do in this final sector. Can Aiden add it all up together and really put some pressure on Matt Richards in the other BMW? Can he do it? Our champion of the Porsches, is he going to steal pole position today? Well, he's jumped up a bit closer with a 28.678, so only 0.5 of a second off of the pace now. So very, very close between our top two. Absolutely nothing in it at all for those top two. As Chris Wilson puts in another personal best to do a 29.593, which keeps him in P4 ahead of Callum Cripps. Ben Crisp has just done a personal best middle sector, but seems to have his lap time deleted, as Stuart Pringle has finally made himself out onto the circuit, but making a bit of a mistake there on his first flying lap. We'll keep an eye on his progress. So Matt Richards then shaping up to start another hot lap. Let's watch Richards intently, because I think this is going to be something special, as we're coming nice and early on the brakes into Paddock Hill Bend, carrying the speed in very sideways through Paddock Hill Bend. Did very well to keep that together. It looked like it really did not want to turn in for him there. As we go through Druids, carrying that minimum speed, and then as we drop down the hill, as we go into the really high-speed left-hander of Graham Hill. It looks high-speed, but it is a lot tighter than it actually looks. So, coming through the corner, kicking up a lot of dust. Not the best first sector there, a 26.1. We're seeing people like Callum Wilson and John Dean Smith both lapping faster than that at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on those times as well. But we're going to stick with Richard's lap for now, because it is not the worst first sector, but it's not the best that we've seen either. Adrian Carter in the pit lane to put on a fresh set of boots to make their final attempt to go for pole position. And Jack Bonney is also on a personal best for Sector 1, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Keep an eye on this lap for Matt Richards, though, doing a really nice job in this middle sector, getting the car on two wheels there. Really wanting ride through these corners of the circuit. Not really making the best of these fresh tyres, but we'll see if Matt can improve and increase that gap that Aiden has closed. It's a 41.3 in the middle sector, which is not a very incredibly fast lap, so I think that Matt is going to back off a little bit and then have another go. Jack Bonney, on the other hand, two personal bests, a 40.604 in the middle sector. That's a really nice time from Jack there. His first time in the British Touring Car Series, Simply Race Touring Car Series. So a very, very good effort from Jack Bonney, as he's coming through clearways now onto the start-finish straight. And he's going to come across the line. Is he going to improve his time? Looks like it's going to be a 1:29, but where's it going to put him? It's a 1:29.5. That takes him up to P4 ahead of Chris Wilson. Absolutely brilliant job. Only less than 2/10 off of our champion, well, less than just over a tenth off of our champion Lewis Manley. But Callum Cripps just jumps up to P3 with an absolutely stonking final sector. Where did that come from? I didn't even see the first and second sectors lighting up the timing board, but that final sector 3/10 quicker than what we've seen so far. Absolutely stonking lap there from Callum Cripps to go P3. So current order with just 2 minutes 45 to go. Matt Richards, Aiden Carter, Callum Cripps, Lewis Manley, Jack Bonney, Chris Wilson, Callum Wilson, John Dean Smith, Ben Bennyworth, Ben Crisp, Gareth Boyle, Josh Vincent, Charlie Keir, Dale Crisp and Stuart Pringle bringing up the rear, but only just putting in his first flying lap of the session. So, looks like we're just going to be trying to find a few laps, but Jack Bonney is on another personal best time here, but as is Lewis Manley, who's just put in a 25.8 in Sector 1, which is a really nice time in Sector 1 for Lewis. 40.475 in Sector 2, so this looks like this could potentially trouble Callum Cripps if he has a really nice final sector. Not seeing a huge amount of improvements at the moment on the circuit. The only other driver improving at the moment is Jack Bonney as well. So on for another good lap is Jack Bonney. And across the line comes Lewis Manley. What's it going to be? It's going to be a 1:28.996. It does take him up to B3. And then Jack Bonney, what's it going to be for Jack Bonney? It's going to be a 1:29.215, which pushes Jack Bonney up to P4. So our current order: Matt Richards, Aiden Carter, Lewis Manley, Jack Bonney and Callum Cripps rounding out the top 5. Really tight here at the front now, just 7/10 of a second between the top 5. So we're going to start to see some absolutely rapid times. As I say that, Matt Richards puts in a purple first sector, 25.709, which is absolutely rapid. Not seen anything like this so far in terms of the qualifying pace. So here we go as he goes down Pilgrim's Drop. We're going to see what Matt Richards can do after that previous attempt was basically abandoned, carrying the speed through Hawthorne onto the Derek Minter straight. Then we've just got Westfield Bend. Dab of the brakes, turn in, trust the car's going to grip, let it run wide, carry the speed, Maybe a little bit too wide there for Matt Richards, but it looks like the speed is still good as we go through Dingledale and now into Sheens. Nice speed through Sheens there. Really tidy lap. Not the best middle sector we've seen, but Aiden Carter's put in a purple middle sector as well. It's going to be very close between these two. Aiden Carter might just steal this, you know, as we go across the line. So we're coming into the final corner now for Matt Richards. What's it going to be for Matt Richards? Is he going to be able to improve that time? It isn't the fastest time we've seen, but then Aiden Carter's first sector isn't the fastest time we've seen. Matt crosses the line, doesn't improve. Aiden Carter crosses the line and also doesn't improve either, but does get across the line to start another lap if they want to do that. Callum Cripps on for a personal best in sector 1 as well. Well, coming through the final corner now. Can't see what Callum's done in the middle sector, so I can't really judge this one too much, but we'll see as he crosses the line for a 1:29. I think that lap time was deleted due to track limits. Okay, so that makes a bit more sense now. We'll keep an eye on these laps as they keep on coming in. Matt Richards, I think, is done with that 25.8 in sector 1. Not really seeing a huge amount of improvements on this lap, it must be said. John Dean Smith is on for a personal best and stays P8 with a not the best final sector, but sectors 1 and 2 quite nice, and it is an improvement for John there as well, but it looks like that's all we're going to get. I say that as people start to light up the timing screen, so we've got Charlie Keir now on a personal best, and also Stuart Pringle on a personal best, so let's keep an eye on their laps. So Charlie Keir coming through onto Pilgrim's Drop, down the hill. Now, just being brave on the brakes, turning in the car again. You need so much trust in your car, you just got to pray that it won't understeer. Almost took a little bit too much speed out of there for my liking there, Charlie. So just need to carry a bit more minimum speed and then running way too wide through the next part of the corner as we go through Dingledale into Sheens. We'll see if that's affected his lap time somewhat. Wouldn't surprise me if we don't see yet not a personal best for the middle sector for Charlie. But still could be an improvement, so we'll just keep an eye on that as he's one of the final people to cross the line. As we're coming through into the final corner now. 1 minute 20, 21, 22. What's it going to be for Charlie Keir? Is he going to improve from his P12 as we go across the line? And it is a 1 minute 30.603, so does not improve. So we'll quickly cut to Stuart Pringle, who also does not improve. And I believe that is that. I think all the cars have now crossed the line and finished their laps. So, Matt Richards. First race back in the touring cars for a long time. Pole position. Can't really ask for much more than that. Aiden Carter, P2. Absolutely stonking drive from Aiden to have a 3/10 gap to Lewis Manley behind. Callum Cripps in P4, Jack Bonney P5, Chris Wilson P6, Callum Wilson P7, John Dean Smith P8, Ben Beddyworth P9, Ben Chris P10, Gareth Boyle P11, Charlie Keir P12, Josh Vincent P13, Dale Chris P14, with Stuart Pringle rounding up the rear. So very shortly we will be going to our first race. We'll just take a few moments of time. There is your grid, as well the top 10 of your grid. So as you can see, Matt Richards there on pole position. Right, we'll be back shortly for race number 1. Stay tuned. to the touring car action here from Brands Hatch. You join us on the grid now for the first race of the day. So, very interesting start to our day that we have, with Matt Richards on pole position, Aidan Carter in second place, and Lewis Manley in P3. We're just waiting for the start of the formation lap before we get completely underway. So, with the return of Matt Richards, it's going to be very interesting to see how well that he is able to cope with the hybrid, the tyre choices, with Aidan Carter's pace, Lewis Manley's pace as well. So let's see what they can all do. So we're pulling away now on the fourth position, and three, and now fourth place was Callum Cripps, and then P5 for Jack Bonney, P6 for Chris Wilson, 7 for Callum Wilson, 8th for John Dean Smith, 9th for Ben Bennyworth, 10th for Ben Willis, 11th for Darren Boyle, 12th for Charlie Keir, 13th for Josh Vincent, 14th for Dale Crisp, with Stuart Pringle rounding out the rear. So we've got a lot of racing to get through this afternoon, and each race is going to be 15 laps long. I do want to say, so with our tyre strategy today, the one to watch in this race is going to be Mr. Callum Cripps in P4. He is the only driver that has chosen the soft tyre for this race. So that could really play into effect as this race goes on. They're just warming up their tyres now, just making their way slowly to the grid as we prepare for our first race. Now, predictions aside, I think we're going to be in for three absolutely stonking races today here at Brands Hatch to really round out the end of our championship. Just coming around the final section of the circuit. Near to the start finish, getting closer to the start finish race, we can start the first race of the afternoon. We're currently watching Callum Cripps on the screen. Apologies that all the BMWs are in Aidan Carter's livery. That's due to an R-Factor 2 problem that we were having in the venue. Instead of spending hours and hours and hours trying to rectify that, we're just going to go along with putting them all in the same livery. So Matt Richards is going to eventually be in Aidan Carter's livery, and Jack Bonney will as well, but for now it's just Callum Cripps, just to solve this small problem that we have. But apologies for the confusion of everyone being in the same livery. I will try and keep you up to speed as well as I can, with a lot going on, and me just in the commentary box by myself today. It's going to be an interesting day, so if I do miss anything, feel free to chime in the comment section and judge my commentary as much as you like. It's not the best in the world, especially compared to Dan McCallum, who once again is currently in Texas. So here we are then, going into clearways, lining themselves up onto the grid, with the rear of the field still just coming through the exit of clearways onto the start-finish straight. Just making our way through to start the race. So here we see Lewis Manley, P3, already the champion, but what can Lewis do today? Can Lewis just cement that championship with a few victories? I'm sure he's going to want to, because you win the championship, yes, but well, so we get underway very quickly, and not a great start from Matt Richards at all. Aidan Carter already straight into first place. Along the outside, you can see quite a lot of position changes there. Matt Richards holding it strong on the inside, so it's going to be drag race between Aidan Carter and Matt Richards. And Callum Cripps is already up to P3, and he's already alongside with his old championship adversary, Lewis Manley. So those two already definitely getting back in line with each other, and up the inside for Callum Cripps, and he loses it and goes wide. That soft tyre advantage is going to be absolutely gone, because he's lost control and he's been collected by one of the cars at the back as well, unfortunately. We continue racing with Lewis Manley now having a really big look at Aidan Carter to try and make a move for second place here. He's looking down as we go down into the Pilgrim's Drop, coming into Hawthorne's Bend. Lewis is going to think about it as Callum Cripps makes Chris Wilson makes a brilliant move on Jack Bonney to take P4. I don't think that's the end of that one for those two, though. Looks like they're still going to continue racing through the corners, and Looks like Chris Wilson has gone a little bit wide, lost a couple of places, yet bound behind John Dean Smith. So that position, that move definitely going against Chris Wilson there, losing a little bit of time on the exit of the corner. Chris commentating with us in the Porsches, so seen plenty of moves done in that, which will probably help him to make some moves back in this race as well. John D. Smith now looking all over the rear end of Jack Bonney, trying to make a move. These two very familiar with each other's racing as they race each other in the Porsches all season, and have been very close on the circuit in the Porsches all season as well. So John's going to know exactly where to make the move on Jack Bonney if he gets an opportunity. This being Jack's first touring car race is going to be quite the introduction, as he's got quite a few people around who are insanely fast drivers, and Chris Wilson is going against his namesake Callum Wilson. So Chris Wilson being in the Vauxhall there, with Callum Wilson being in the BMW, also a debutant for this round, but a very fast esports driver. And Chris Wilson trying it all the way around the outside of Surtees and gets the job done. There's a bit of contact, but he's got the move done, so he goes up a position. That's going to make Callum Wilson vulnerable to Ben Bennyworth, who now takes the position going into Hawthorne's Bend. Although Callum Wilson braves out around the outside, great outbraking move there from Mr. Wilson himself there. So Matt Richards currently has a 9/10 of a second lead, with Aidan Carter in second and Lewis Manley in third, just 2/10 of a second behind him. Then we've got Jack Bonney, John Dean Smith, Chris Wilson, Callum Wilson, Ben Bennyworth, Stuart Pringle, Josh Vincent, Charlie Keir, Gareth Boyle, Ben Crisp, Callum Cripps and Dale Crisp rounding out the rear. So our race leader here, Matt Richards, and then in second place we have Aidan Carter, who's being meticulously hunted down by season-long championship rival Lewis Manley. Can these two continue the great rivalry they've had? I think they can, and I think this race is going to prove it. So watching Lewis Manley here, he's going to think about making a move. No, thinks so. Ooh, loses the rear end a little bit, but he's able to carry the speed. Doesn't run too wide, and is still carrying a decent amount of speed going into Druid's corner. Those medium tyres not proving to be that great on the BMW as of now, struggling for temperature perhaps compared to the front-wheel drive cars, which are going to be constantly up to a decent temperature. A little bit of argy-bargy further back in the field. Stuart Pringle and the Toyota of Josh Vincent coming to grips there in Druid's corner. We're just going to keep an eye on Lewis Manley here and Aidan Carter, because this battle for P2 is really going to heat up, as Manley is going to shape up from the looks of it and try and make a move, but Aidan is definitely putting his car in all the right places. John Dean Smith meanwhile has managed to get in front of Jack Bonney. I say that as Jack Bonney completely repasses him and takes the move back, takes the place back. So really good driving from Jack Bonney, definitely not feeling the pressure of this being his first touring car race, and he's running in P4 just outside the podium position. What a drive so far for Jack Bonney. So we keep an eye on the battle for P2. Aidan Carter managing to drop that gap a little bit more to about 6/10 of a second, so feeling a little bit more comfortable there now, as the gap between Jack Bonney and John Dean Smith becomes becomes nothing, as John Dean Smith around the outside of Jack Bonney trying to get the job done onto the start-finish straight. He's going to try and shape him up. He's going to try and duck down the inside into Paddock Hill Bend. No, he's going to try it round the outside maybe. No, I really thought he was going to try and shape him up there using the push pass. Doesn't do so, but he's definitely driving very intelligently. So we keep an eye on this battle for P4, and also Aidan Carter now 7/10 clear of Lewis Manley, so that gap increasing ever so slightly. And John D. Smith has now got the job done on Jack Bonney, but Jack is not giving up. Yeah, look at this, side by side down the straight. He's really thinking about making that move back again. Really good run that the BMW gets on the exit of Surtees, going onto the Pilgrims drop straight, going round the outside, going to try the long way round is Jack Bonney, and Chris Wilson's going to try and follow. Don't try and make it free wide, Chris, for whatever you do. And up the inside goes Chris Wilson, but gets the door shut completely in his face. Won't be too pleased with that one with Chris Wilson. That was a little bit of a late move there, but Jack also just focusing on the car in front. Really nice defensive driving, but was that a little bit over the line? I'll leave that down to the stewards. So our gap to the lead has now come down to about half a second, as Aidan Carter is now all over the back of Matt Richards. So not letting Matt Richards get away keeping the pressure on Matt Richards and showing Matt Richards that this championship has evolved and that there is a lot of competition in this championship, and that someone isn't just going to be able to come in and just be able to drive away with it super quickly. We keep an eye on that battle as well, but this battle here between Jack Bonney and Chris Wilson is really starting to hot up, with Chris Wilson looking up the inside, going into Druid's corner. He's halfway alongside, he's up the inside. Jack leaves him just enough room, and Chris does get the job done there. So really good driving there from Chris Wilson. But I've got a feeling that Jack Bonney's going to try and get him back, coming on the exit of Surtees, going down the pit to Pilgrim's Drop. So let's see what Jack does here. So takes that really early line, carries the speed through the corner. It does give him a good exit, but that gap now just increasing that little bit too much. So just looking at our two leaders now, so Matt Richards and Aidan Carter here for the top two. Absolutely brilliant driving from the both of them at the moment, so we'll just keep an eye on those two. As you can see, the gap is just over half a second. Aidan Carter has been in this situation many times before, so knows exactly what to do. Other battles going on around the circuit, there's a lot at the moment, so we'll try and keep an eye on it as much as we possibly can. But with only a couple of TV cams that we've got here, well, TV monitors here, then we can't unfortunately bring you every single battle, but I will try and keep you up to date with the timing towers of who's where at all times. So, coming on to the next lap, Matt Richards extends the gap a little bit to about 0.6 of a second. We're just going to drop down to see what Ben Bennyworth is up to. Ben Bennyworth just behind Callum Wilson by about 0.8 of a second. That gap was just looking a little bit closer. You see him a little bit of shouting, but I think that's from the lady bus, so I don't think that's our drivers. As Chris Wilson, is now looking all over John D. Smith, but it's not paid off, which means that now Jack Bonney is right back into play here. So we're back to where we was a couple of laps ago, basically. Like, nothing's changed with these two now. As battle just resumes. However, Chris able to pull that gap again from Jack Bonney, and then once again we resume fighting. Aidan Carter still trying to keep in touch with Matt Richards. That gap up to about 0.7 of a second now, so still very close between the two of them. Other battles going on the circuit between Josh Vincent and Stuart Pringle at the rear. We'll try and keep an eye on those guys as well. On board with Chris Wilson, just watching John Dean Smith in front of him. Really trying to hunt down John Dean Smith is Chris. Trying to put the pressure on to try and close that gap and try and push a mistake out of John to get that P4 position. But it must be said, really good job from Matt Richards and Jack Bonney so far in this race. They've both driven so well, considering that Matt Richards has been away from sim racing for quite some time, and this is his return drive, so absolutely amazing from him. And Jack Bonney, with it being his first touring car race with us at the venue. Yes, he's racing the Porsches, but this is a very different kettle of fish, and it's very cool to see him this competitive this early on. Just watching through Paddock Hill Bend now as we go into Druids, hard on the brakes, second gear corner, tight apex. Don't want to go much faster than 47 miles an hour at that apex, or you just run too wide. You've got to be so patient with the accelerator as you go through Graham Hill. Third gear, carry the speed through the exit to about 80 miles an hour on the exit. As we're coming down the short straight as we go into Surtees, hard on the brakes, down to third gear. Patience, now floor it. That's it. That's how you get that corner done. It's such a tricky corner to get right as we come down onto the straight. As we drop into Pilgrim's Drop now, the gap does seem to be increasing just a little bit from John Dean Smith, but we're coming up to Hawthorne Bend now. Nice stab of brakes, down to fifth gear, holding the speed through the corner, just getting about 100 miles an hour on the exit. Lovely turn there from Chris, and another braking down to fourth gear, 80 miles an hour through the corner itself, down the hill into Dingledale, and then up we go again, and here we are into Sheen Corner, fourth gear. Don't run too wide, you'll spin, keep it about there, perfect. Second to last corner now, Sterling's fourth gear through here, 77 miles an hour on the apex, carrying the speed through the exit. Now coming into the final corner as we go through the clearway straight and into Clark Curve, fourth gear, carrying the speed around 85 miles an hour just as you exit, and then flooring the throttle for the start finish straight. Chris Wilson absolutely giving it everything here to try and close that gap to John Dean Smith. Keep an eye on that gap, but the battle for the lead looks like it is really starting to hotten up as well, so we'll keep an eye on that too. I was saying that, it's now just increased to 8 tenths of a second. Apologies, my timer page had a little glitch. It made it look like it was less than a tenth. So we've got Ben Bennyworth as well against, so Ben Bennyworth versus Gareth Boyle here too. So those two quite close together, and then Ben Bennyworth another 2 tenths of a second behind Callum Wilson. So very, very tight midfield battles at the moment. Chris Wilson, has to be said, he just gained a load of time, but it looks like he's got a slight issue here with the pod. That's frustrating. So a technical issue for for Chris Wilson. That's going to drop him down some positions. Oh, that's a shame. That's a massive shame for Chris Wilson. He was really on the roll there, but he'll settle back down. He'll get himself back into it. It's a shame. These pedals sometimes do give us some grief, but unfortunately that's just how it is right now. So, keeping an eye on the action at the front. So it's Matt Richards leading from Aidan Carter. 1 second between them, then another 4 seconds until we see Lewis Manley behind. Then it's another 8 seconds before we see John Dean Smith and then Jack Bonney, who's now promoted to P5. And it looks like Stuart Pringle has decided to retire from race 1. As he's at the side of the circuit, so I'm not sure what's happened there. But as we keep an eye on this battle between Gareth Boyle as well and Ben Bennyworth, so lots going on track at the moment, lots of random dramas coming on at the moment, and going on board with Ben Chris. Let's see what Ben Chris is up to. Ben Chris doing a nice job, just keeping Callum Cripps in check. Very similar surnames, so it's trying not to get them too mixed up. Crisps. Yeah. Thanks, guys. No, I'm joking. So, just keep an eye out for any close battles. It's starting to open up a little bit more now. So let's go to our leaders, which is just under 9 tenths of a second. So it must be said, Aidan has not let Matt pull away too much in this race. He's kept that gap very consistently. They are both on the medium tyre, however, so that's going to be interesting to see how much that they can, how much that Aidan can make his last over Matt Richards makes his last. So who's going to keep their tyres in for longer, I think, is going to be the clear goal for this race. Chris Wilson is already starting to catch up Gareth Boyle and Ben Bennyworth, so really good job from Chris to start closing that gap back down again after losing so much time from the pedal failure, as our two leaders start lap number 10 of 15. So we're getting to the final third of this race now, as we're coming into Druids Corner here, just watching Aidan Carter carrying that lovely line through there. These two are both absolutely rapid drivers. It's very cool to see these two drivers at the front. Lewis Manley not really being able to do anything about these two in front of him. 5.8 seconds off of P2 himself. So, but very, very comfortable third place for Lewis Manley from the looks of it today. So, with the race order, it's currently Matt Richards in first, Aidan Carter in second, Lewis Manley third, John Dean Smith fourth, Jack Bonney fifth, Callum Wilson sixth, Ben Bennyworth seventh, Gareth Boyle eighth, Chris Wilson ninth, Ben Chris 10th, Josh Vincent 11th, followed by Callum Cripps in 12th, then Charlie Keir in 13th, Dale Crispin 14th, and then Stuart Pringle has decided to retire from the race. Once I find out why Stuart Pringle was retired from the race, I will bring that to you. I don't think it was a technical failure. I've got a feeling this may have just been down to some incidents. I'm not too sure. But I will try and find out for you and keep updated for race number 2. So, just watching the two leaders again as we start lap number 11. This is the closest battle on the track at the moment. It's 7.5 tenths of a second. So we've got 5 laps to go now. Hill Bend. There is a close battle between Callum Cripps and Josh Vincent as well, though. So Callum definitely in the wars on his return. And whoa, that was a sudden appearance of a Toyota there. So that's going to be a nice easy pass then for Callum Cripps. And we'll go back to the front now that seems to have sorted itself out. Very interesting. You look away for 1 second and then drivers are off all over the place. So, just another shout out as well for Jack Bonney, still 9 tenths of a second behind John Dean. He's running very well in P5, got a nice 2-second buffer to Callum Wilson, so yeah, should be a decent, very decent first showing for him. So I've been informed by race control that Jack Bonney's been given a 5-second penalty for colliding with Chris Wilson, so that's going to drop him down a few places, unfortunately. That's going to bring him quite down the order. I think that's going to take him to around where Chris Wilson is, ironically. So, yeah, so keep an eye on that for you. We'll let you know where he ends up once the race has come to a close. Yeah, I've just been told that Stuart Pringle had a few crashes and then decided to retire. So, yeah, that's that. Yeah, sure, fine. Anyway, I've seen Callum Cripps in the pit lane for some reason. I could hear him laughing about it. So I'm not really sure what's going on there with Callum. Maybe putting on some fresh rubber to try and set a fastest lap or something. Not really sure. Either way, it's not been the return I think he hoped for. However, there are still 2 races to go after this one, so let's see what he can do in race number 2. However, this was supposed to be his best race with the soft tyres. We'll glaze over that. It's fine, Callum. Don't worry. We're just happy that you're back. So, other battles on circuit. We have Jack Bonney versus John Dean Smith. Once again, 0.6 of a second between these two now, so this becomes now the closest battle on circuit, but it does become a little bit redundant with Jack Bonney's 5-second penalty. However, if Jack can get in front and start to gap the cars behind, that will obviously help him, so don't give up yet, Jack. Just keep on pushing. Jack won't know he's got the penalty until he talks to the stewards after the race anyway, so he'll just keep driving as though everything is completely normal. So just watching this battle for 4th and 5th. Jack Bonney just staying in touch with John Dean Smith now. The lead has now increased to 1.2 seconds for Matt Richards. So Matt Richards sort of just putting on the, just saying, you know, I'm here, I'm going to set a faster lap, I'm just going to pull away, I'm just going to drive as slow as I need to drive to win this race. And I'm just going to set a few good laps just to get that gap up a little bit more comfortably. So a nice strategy there from Matt Richards, obviously keeping in the tyres in check as well. Is that now 1.2 second lead. Gareth Boyle is only 0.8 of a second behind Ben Bennyworth, and Ben Bennyworth then another 0.8 of a second behind. Aidan Carter's just had a bit of an off and drops 5 seconds off of the lead. Oh dear, that's unfortunate for Aidan. So that's basically definitely confirmed the race victory, he thinks, for Matt Richards then. Just keep an eye on these 3 here. So we've got Ben Bennyworth, Gareth Boyle, and we've also got Callum Wilson in the picture here as well. So we're all starting to close up a little bit here. Gap within 0.7 of a second for the 3 cars. Really nice close battle here. No one really making any moves. They're all just driving at a very similar sort of pace and sticking with each other. And Jack Bonney also looking to try and put some pressure onto John Dean Smith, but I think it's just going to settle for P5 potentially as we're on our penultimate lap now. Chris Wilson doing well to close the gap, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to get any higher than P9. However, he should go up another position because of Jack Bonney. No, maybe not. No, because that gap has increased quite a bit actually. So yeah, maybe Jack's going to... I think Jack's going to get away with a 5-second penalty without losing any positions at all now, because Callum Wilson is 5 seconds behind him. So that's a very interesting one there. So 5-second penalty is not actually going to do anything to affect his results if it stays how it is right now. So this battle that you see now isn't for position, but it does mean that there's a little bit more into it, because Jack will want to get ahead of John and just cement that further. But I don't think he needs to, as the gap continues to build. Callum Cripps still having a great time in P12, just overtaking Charlie here. I think he's more fresh rubber though, so don't take too much into that. We've got a yellow in sector 2 as it quickly goes away. I think someone's just ran it slightly over the circuit. I think we've definitely settled down in this race. There's a lot of follow the leader going on at the moment, which I'd like to see a little bit less of for the next 2 rounds. But you know, the track does sort of lead to that sort of racing. It does tend to sort of build up and then crescendo into an epic finale. What goes on here at Brands Hatch? So we're on our final lap now of the race. So final lap of the race with Matt Richards leading by 5.86 seconds. Quite the lead, quite the dominant performance from Matt Richards, it has to be said. What a return to form for the driver. The pro esports driver who retired from esports sim racing and now making a return to esports sim racing, and definitely hasn't lost a single lick of speed. So well done to Matt Richards. Come through the final sector now. Just a couple of corners to go. Just got to keep it on the grey stuff. Just got to bring it home. Coming into the final corner as we are on the clearway straight going into Clark Curve. Onto the start-finish straight, and Matt Richards is going to take race 1 here at Brands Hatch. Great drive from Matt Richards, followed home by Aidan Carter, 5.9 seconds off of the lead. Then we have Lewis Manley taking P3, followed by John Dean Smith. Jack Bonney seems to have made quite a mistake on this lap, so he's going to lose a lot of time now from that penalty. Apologies for missing that, but John Dean Smith takes P4. Jack Bonney provisionally takes P5, but we need to see where that's going to actually put him. P6 for Callum Wilson, P7 for Ben Bennyworth, P8 for Gareth Boyle, P9 for Chris Wilson. Could have been so much more. P10 for Ben Cripps. Josh Vincent in P11 has just crashed. Will this give Callum Cripps a chance to get P11? I'm not too sure. Oh, he's still recovering. Here we go. We've got to fight for the line as we coming down Clark. Come down clearways into Clark Curve. Nice bit of braking there from Callum. Oh, little bumpy there from Callum Cripps as well. But it looks like Josh Vincent is just going to finish in front of Callum Cripps. Thanks, Callum, for making that a little bit exciting for us on the final lap. As we've got Charlie Keir in P13, Dale Crisp in P14, with Stuart Pringle deciding to retire from the race. And that's it for race number 1, I believe. Everybody has crossed the line apart from Charlie Keir, I think. No, Charlie Keir has also crossed the line. And that is the end of race number 1. So you can see your top 10 there. Matt Richards winning the race, Aidan Carter P2, Lewis Manley P3, John Dean Smith P4, Jack Bonney P5, but that's going to drop down to around P8, potentially maybe even P9. Callum Wilson P6, Ben Bennyworth P7, Gareth Boyle P8, Chris Wilson P9, with Ben Crisp rounding out the top 10. So, join us in a few minutes for our next race, for race number 2. We hope to see you very, very soon. Welcome back to Brands Hatch. Just while we're waiting for the next race to get underway, just figured I'd do a little bit of housekeeping regarding the previous round. So, just going to go through our final results. So, first place was Matt Richards, second place was Aidan Carter, third place was Lewis Manley, fourth place was then Callum Wilson, fifth place was Ben Bennyworth, sixth place Gareth Boyle, seventh place for Chris Wilson, eighth place after a 5-second penalty for John Dean Smith, ninth place for Ben Crisp, and 10th place for Jack Bonney, again 5-second penalty applied. Josh Vincent 11th, Callum Cripp 12th, Charlie Keir 13th, Dale Crisp 14th, and Stuart Pringle 15th. So that is also our starting order for this race, but just wanted to clarify the finishing positions of race number 1. I would also like to mention that these drivers that are guest drivers are not scoring points towards the championship. They can still win the round, but in terms of the championship itself, they're not scoring any points, which means that it doesn't affect any ongoing battles in the championship. It's going to get a little bit funky with the maths, apologies for that, but I will try and work it out as much as I humanly can, and then we will go from there at the end of the day. So we're just waiting for a few moments just to get the race underway, so just wanted to get that housekeeping done and dusted. If you are watching the stream, why not let us know where you're watching from, who you're rooting for, who you want to win, who you want to see do well, so on and so forth. So feel free to pitch in with the chat. Hopefully everybody out there's having a great day. It seems to be a lovely sunny day outside, so what are you doing inside watching sim racing? No, I'm being serious. What are you doing inside watching sim racing? I'm joking. You can watch as much sim racing as you like. Anyway, so we're still just waiting for a few moments just to get this race underway. We'll be back very shortly to start the next race. official and told me that all he could do in qualifying was get that P3. Told me that if these races continue next season to keep up to be able to keep up with them. So potentially a very exciting future. Some luck on Lewis Manley's side and some bad luck on Aiden Carter's side with a few mistakes here and there. Up to clearways now to get onto the start-finish straight to start race number 2. So, here we go, getting ready for race number 2, sorry. Long hold for the lights, very long hold for the lights, and we're still waiting for them to go green. And off we go. So, good start from Matt Richards, very good start. To get alongside with Aiden Carter going into turn 1, but Aiden might have to turn 1 already. Those soft tyres on Aiden's BMW. Lewis running wide there, and looks like we've got a relatively good crash around that. And we've got a BMW on the inside of Druids losing control. That looks like Jack Bonney. I think it is Jack Bonney dropping down the order there rapidly. John Dean Smith also rapidly down the order. We now have Matt Richards, Lewis Manley, Aiden Carter as our top 3. Lots of things going on at Druids there. Lots of incidents and as well in Paddock Hill Bend too, which means that Cameron massively jumped up the order to P8. So Aiden's all over the back of Lewis Manley already. Matt Richards is the perfect race number 1 and continues that into race number 2 into the lead. We're going to have Josh Vincent in the field, Jack Bonney in the P6. We've got some good battles going on through the field, so we're just trying to keep an eye on those for you. We're getting the train started to be ready. I think Jack Bonney didn't quite a big drop into P14, and then Gareth Ball is coming in the pits like so long way to go. And Lewis Manley is really trying to put the pressure on to Matt Richards right now. So those soft tyres not really coming into effect just yet for Matt Richards. Lewis Manley is doing a good job to put the pressure on for the first place position. Aiden wants to stay as well. So Aiden, Matt on the soft tyres, everyone on the soft tyres, Charlie Kieran on the soft tyres, and Josh Vincent on the soft tyres as well. So keep an eye on the see how much gain they get from running those soft tyres. More interesting when they've got the choice does live things up quite a lot, but it looks like the medium tyres focus have switched on just a little earlier for Lewis Manny. So Lewis has a lot of early pace in this race and is able to keep up the pace of these two BMWs on the soft tyres. Very interesting to see. Keeping an eye on the battles further down the field as well. Charlie Kier and Callum Cripps having a nice battle as well. Very closely separated. And we've also got a few good battles with anywhere. Stuart Pringle, and not far behind him is Grant Smith, so very, very close at the rear of the pack as well as it's Aidan Carter in the purple first sector. Really starting to think, right, let's get these tyres going, let's get these set to temperature and start making some moves. Because what Aidan doesn't want to have happen is for that to have his tyres fall over and pull away into the distance again, just like happened in race 1. With Aidan and that being open soft tyres, it's going to be relatively tricky, I think, for Aidan to be able to make the best of this now, because there's already a gap of 1.2 seconds between the first and the third, and Lewis is now dropping off that lead. So Aidan's going to have to get this move done quickly, otherwise it's going to be a long, long race for Aidan. Stuart Pringle all in this sort of five-part queue here. Very close battling here, and John Dean Smith looking to make a move to Ben Chris, going around the outside of the number 10 livery Ford. Ben doesn't get the job done. The pressure trying to make anything there by the Ford driver. Let's keep an eye on these guys, just keep an eye at the front as well to make sure that no moves are being done without our scope, because we can see the position to change the racing. Callum Cripps is doing a much better job in this race, it must be said, currently in P7 behind Josh Vincent, second behind enjoyed an enjoyable night out last night, so drinking and sim racing probably not the best combination that you can do, but you know, if anyone can make it work, I think Callum Cripps should be able to get the time of that. So coming through into 5 soon, as we're just watching this gap of cars wheel just following each other, waiting to make a mistake. So I'm going to give Callum Cripps a bit of pressure on Josh Vincent here, because it looks like he's going to try and line him up going into Clark Curve. That's it, we're going up the inside, nice dummy, late on the brakes, keeps out the inside, nice and tight, and then gets the job done going into the start finish straight. Really nice move there by Callum Cripps to get the car into P6. What else can Callum do in this race? Next car in front of him is Jack Bonney, who's also on the soft tyres, and then Chris Wilson in really strong showing from these five minutes at the moment. He was driving an absolutely fantastic job today. Callum Wilson is struggling down at the back, but it has to be said it's his first time in these cars, and side by side it's Lewis Manley and Aidan Carter, and Aidan Carter has got the job done. I look away for 1 second from one screen and then I see them neck and neck. So what can Aidan now do about that to first place? Can Aidan bring the gap down and try and close the gap to Matt Richards and try and steal that victory? In terms of the championship, he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to, because that will give him a lot of points. His only rival is Ben Bennyworth, and Ben Bennyworth is down in P10 at the moment. I think that's going to be pretty sold for P2 in the championship. So Lewis Manley now P3 once again. Chris Wilson's got some company behind him with Jack Bonney and Callum Cripps, who's suddenly woken up in a purple sector. So Callum Cripps really starting to come alive with this car, realising the ins and outs of it already, which is really good. This is more the Callum Cripps we're expecting to see, a much faster, more consistent drive. But here we go, here's Jack Bonney all over the back of Callum Cripps, really making the most of Chris Wilson, making the most of those soft tyres as we go into Paddock Hill Bend, down the hill as the cars compress down, and we come back up again. Chris getting defensive early for Druids, and push Jack to the outside, round the outside of Druids, can't get it done, tries a switchback move, but I don't think there's anywhere for Jack to go there, so very well positioned by Chris Wilson. We've seen some brilliant defensive driving from him all season, and that is exactly why he's definitely one of the hardest cars on the whole field to overtake. In fact, if not the hardest car to overtake. But look at this, Jack definitely not giving up yet, really trying to shape up that BMW going on to Pilgrim's Drop. And as we see him coming down the hill, he's also going to have Callum Cripps for company too. So what does Callum do in this situation? Does Callum just follow, or does Callum try and attack? I think Callum will try and attack and get the job done, but I'm happy to be proven wrong with that one, because I think by the time he gets there, Jack won't be making another move on Chris. So look at this, they're definitely a lot closer again. Jack Corney to Chris Wilson. Aiden Carter is starting to really pile on the pressure to Matt Richards as well, bringing the gap down to just under 9/10 of a second. So really, really good job there from Aiden Carter to slowly bring that gap down to just under 9/10 of a second. Keep an eye on these two here, because this is a stomping battle here for P4 as Callum Cripps is looking at the outside of Jack Corney. Chooses to go for that outside line. Jack dives late, not just to come at Chris, but to try and have a go at Chris. Gets a really solid run. Chris again playing defensive up the inside. Jack Bonney up the outside, bit of contact, little bit of argy-bargy there, as Callum is going to try and benefit from that too. Callum now all over the back of Jack Bonney, so that little move there, that little bit of contact has just perfected the momentum for Jack Bonney, which means that he is now a little bit vulnerable to Callum Cripps. Is Callum going to be able to do anything though? I think he's just dropped back just a little bit. Jack once again is all over the back of Chris Wilson, but here we go, Callum also looking to line up Jack Bonney. I'm very sorry that they're in the same car. I know it's very confusing as we go into Hawthorne Bend. And Jack Bonney runs a bit wide, which is going to put Callum Cripps up the inside. Callum Cripps makes the move and gets the job done, dropping Jack Bonney down to P6. Really nice move, but I don't think Jack Bonney's done just yet. He's still looking. He wants to get that job done, but he can't. Nope, that is job done for Callum Cripps. Now, what can Callum Cripps do about Chris Wilson? Can he close that gap? Reel that gap in and try and get that move done. I don't know if he can just yet, because Jack Bonney is still looking all over the rear end of that other BMW to try and get back in front. With the softer tyres, remember, for Jack Bonney, so Jack's got a lot more grip than Callum. However, being held up behind Chris has just given Callum that opportunity that he needed to get the job done. Our lead is down to a ridiculously close gap as well, so we're going to come back to the lead very shortly if it hottens up, because we've still got Jack Bonney and Callum Cripps all over each other. So it's BMW or BMW, and if the lead is also BMW or BMW. Let's get a picture-in-picture up on your screen so you can see both battles as they progress. So here we go. So in the bottom right corner of the screen is the battle for the lead, with Matt Richards in first, Aiden Carter in second, and then we've got these two here of Jack Bonney and Chris Wilson. So apologies that they're all in the same livery. I know that makes it very, very confusing, but it's just something happening today. It's a factor 2 issue. Apologies for that. I'll try and guide through as clearly as possible. It's just starting to open up a little bit now, and now it's more looking like Callum is going to make the move onto Chris Wilson. We're keeping an eye on that battle for the lead as well. Aiden Carter really wanting to get this victory from Matt Richards to make it one apiece for the two of them. So really exciting battle for the lead. And look at this, Callum Cripps now all over the back of Chris Wilson already. Let's see what Chris can do to defend from the ex-world champion, so it's ex-Simply Race Touring Car champion, Callum Cripps. Callum going through the final corner now, going to line up onto the start-finish straight, both on the medium tyres, these two, so it's fair game for both of them. Going into Paddock Hill Bend. Callum looking at the outside. Can't get it done, but that's going to shape him up beautifully for Paddock Hill Bend. That's going to give him a really good run. Chris goes defensive early, he's already alongside on the outside. Going to outbrake, going to squeeze Chris up the inside, loses a bit of time. So now we're going to see a reverse effect where Jack Bonney, was able to make, where Callum was able to take advantage of Jack Bonney getting a bit of contact. It's now roles reversed, and we see the two leaders as well, absolutely neck and neck. Real fast pace as well from Aiden Carter still to try and keep that pressure on. And look at this, Callum Cripps on the outside of Chris Wilson. He's going for the move, going down Pilgrim's Drop as we come down into Hawthorne Bend. Round the outside, can Callum Cripps get it done round the outside? He's doing it the long way round, he's carrying the speed. Chris gives him the room. They're still side by side as we come into Westfield. On the brakes, Cripps turns in, gets the job done. What a move. Great driving from both there to prevent any form of incident. Absolutely stonking driving from the pair. That could have been a massive accident if any of them made a slight error. And look at this, Jack Bonney now up the inside of Chris Wilson. Oh, makes a mistake and goes off all by himself and throws away a chance at getting ahead and loses control of the rear. Will have to calm his head, get himself back up through the pack, calm it all down, wait for the cars, wait, that's it, get yourself back around. Okay, so we're going to now cut to the battle for the lead because it is absolutely neck and neck here for the battle for the lead. Apologies for the timing screen dying. It appears to be a issue with the timing page itself to do with R factor. We'll just refresh that for you to try and bring that up for you. There we go. As we see Aidan Carter now in P2, really trying to hunt down Matt Richards, really putting the pressure on. So just keep an eye, just trying to sort out some of the timing issues here on the stream. Apologies for that. R Factor 2 taking things a little bit out of my control, unfortunately. Just keeping an eye on what else is going on. So Jack is now down to P13, unfortunately for him, so way down the order. So he's got a lot of work to do to try and get that position back, those positions back, to try and regain some places. Just keeping an eye on other battles around the circuit. So yeah, so this battle for P12 between, because the gap for the lead has opened up quite a lot, so we're just going to drop down to this battle for P12 at the moment. Jack Bonney's recovery around Callum Wilson as well. Apologies for constantly mixing Callum and Chris up. They do have the same surname, so it is a little bit confusing. Apologies for that. So yes, just watching what Jack Bonney can do on this recovery drive, and Matt Richards has decided to just put the absolute hammer down with a new fastest lap of 1:28.367, which comparing to Aidan Carter's previous lap of 1:29.137 extends that gap to 1.4 seconds. So those two in another class of their own, but like Matt Richards just wanting to seal the deal there. So we'll keep an eye on the battles around. So we've got John Dean Smith and Ben Bennyworth as well for P8 going on at the moment. Just been informed that Chris Wilson's been given a 5-second penalty for the collision with Jack Bonney. Didn't leave a car's width for the other car, so that's the steward's call on that one, which will drop Chris one position down as it stands. Obviously that could change as the race goes on, as we saw with Jack Bonney's penalty. This is really livening up here with Ben Crisp and Jack Bonney, and with Callum Wilson. Look at this, they're all going for each other. Loads of action going on here. 3 cars battling for the same piece of tarmac, and Jack Bonney doesn't manage to get the job done. Callum Wilson really defending quite nicely there from Jack Bonney, but losing the place to Ben Crisp. So good move there from Ben Crisp. Really nice racing from these guys at the far end of the field. We're just going to have a quick look at the battle for P8 and P7, because we've also got John Smith and Ben Bennyworth battling quite nicely. And then we're just going to quickly jump back to this battle again, because there's so much going on with it, so why not? The battle for the lead is starting to come down again, just to about a second now. So we will keep an eye on that, just in case it does really close up in these closing 3 laps. So not a huge amount left of this race to go now. This one has gone quite a bit faster than race number 1, I think you'll agree. Really good battles in this race, some really nice race, and really good overtakes. With that overtake around the outside from Callum Cripps being the highlight for me. Really nice move. And look at this, Mr. Crisp goes off the circuit, which is going to give Callum Wilson a good run, and it's also going to give Jack Bonney a good run. to go into P12. So Jack Bonney improves to P12, or does he? Ben Crisp outbreaks him going into Hawthorns. Jack's getting a little bit squirrely again. Just got to keep it calm. Just got to keep it chilled. Remember, it's your first event here in the touring cars. This battle as well for P8 really hotting up between Ben Bennyworth and John Dean Smith, because they've also got Josh Vincent. So now this is also a free car battle for a position. Loads of action going on the circuit in this race, so apologies that we're not able to keep up with absolutely all of it. We're going to go picture in picture to try and capture as much of it as we possibly can for you. Here we go. So we've got John Dean Smith now looking at the outside of Ben Bennyworth going into Paddock Hill Bend, trying to get the overrun through the corner, set up nicely, which should give him a good run up the inside, but I just think that Ben Bennyworth was able to carry enough speed to be able to hold that off. Nice inside line there for Ben Bennyworth to just hold the position. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2, not sure who that is. It's already on green once again, as we just keep an eye on these guys battling. Full position, you can see Crisp and Bonnie still going at it in the screen in the bottom right corner of your screen, as we keep an eye on Ben Bennyworth and John Dean Smith. So John Dean Smith has now got in front of Ben Bennyworth, so great move from John Dean Smith there to get onto P8. Ben Bennyworth's not done just yet though, having a look to maybe try and retaliate. No, dropping back just a little bit there, so can't keep up with the sheer pace that John is putting forward. Can John now get into P6 with Josh Vincent being the next target? And look at this battle, these guys still going at it. It's absolutely phenomenal to watch with this lot. Look at them all, just constantly throwing the cars around at each other, and the gap for the lead is now down to 0.6 of a second. So the gap for the lead, 0.6 of a second. The lead really coming down, so we're going to keep an eye on that too in the picture-in-picture, because we don't want to miss anything when it comes to the lead, because well, it's the most important position of the whole race, isn't it? So just keep an eye on this really awesome battle, and now Jack Bonney has overtaken Callum Wilson with a really nice overrun. He's got to hold it around the outside though. Oh, that's getting a bit argy-bargy, lads. Maybe calm it down a tad. Don't squeeze each other too much. You'll throw each other into the barrier. We're going across the line into the first corner, into Paddock Hill Bend. Really well played by both of them. Got a little bit aggressive, but Jack Bonney now up to P11. Ben Crisp running a bit wide there, so the next target for Jack Bonney and potentially Callum Wilson will now be Dale Crisp in front. Aidan Carter is still putting the pressure on to Matt Richards. Richards starting to respond to try and keep that gap the same. Real nice driving from the pair of them. They're not teammates. I know they're in the same livery, but they are not teammates. I just want to make that absolutely clear. They are all borrowing Aidan Carter's livery for this round. So here comes Aidan into the final corner, carrying a nice bit of speed onto the start finish straight. Good move. So look at this as well. Ben Crisp is coming right back into it against Callum Wilson, and John Dean Smith has just lost a couple of positions with Charlie Keir. So I think there's been a bit of an incident there. John dropped down to 8, Charlie down to P9. John down to 9, Charlie down to P8, with Ben Bennyworth now P7. So some moves going on at the front there as well. Gap for the lead is starting to open up once again as Matt Richards responds beautifully to the threat from Aidan Carter behind. Just keeping an eye on this battle still between Callum Wilson, and we've also got Jack Bonney all over the back of Dale Crisp too. So we've got so many battles going on the circuit. Very, very difficult to keep up with them. It has spread out a little bit in front of these guys now, with the next closest battle being Callum Cripps closing in on his old championship rival Lewis Manley. So that's going to be an interesting one if that one comes to fruition on this final lap. But look at this, as we see Jack Bonney going up the inside of Dale Crisp. Really nice move there, crystal clean. That's exactly how you overtake going into Druids. Perfect move. Okay, so we're just going to cut back to our race leader because it is the final lap already. I know, this one has flown by. I didn't even realise it was the last lap, but here we go. Matt Richards coming through now to make it 2 out of 2. Coming through clearways, into the Clark curve, onto the start-finish straight, and does an absolute masterclass victory to take race number 2. So 2 out of 2, with Aidan Carter putting all the pressure on and the fastest lap behind. good job from our top two. Now, who's going to come P3? It looks like Lewis has just been able to close that, to increase that gap just a little bit. So Callum running out of time there to get the move done on Lewis Manley. So it's going to be Callum Cripps in, Lewis Manley in P3, Callum Cripps in P4. Chris Wilson will cross the line in P5, but that's penalty will be applied, which is going to drop him one position, I believe, behind Josh Vincent. So that's that position done. Then Josh Vincent behind. Ben Bennyworth then is another 5.7 behind. Charlie Keir then behind them. And how is this all going to play out? It's all opened up a bit. With Jack Bonney taking P10. Dale Crisp taking P11. Callum Wilson P12. Ben Crisp P13. Stuart Pringle's going to come home in P14. And Gareth Boyle deciding to retire from that race. So once again, well done to our winner of race number 2, Matt Richards. Great job, and really nice job from Aidan Carter as well to keep that pressure on through the race. Good to see a small taste of what we got used to in the past of Lewis Manley and Callum Cripps at the end there. Hopefully we'll see a lot of that in race 3, because we've got the race 3 reverse grid draw to come up, and then just one more race to go. We'll be back with you very shortly. See you soon. race number 3 of the touring cars today, our reverse grid pole race. We've got Dale Crisp on pole position, Jack Bonney P2, Charlie Keir P3 and Ben Bennyworth in P4. Following up from that, we then have Chris Wilson in the Vauxhall Astra in P5, Josh Vincent in P6, Callum Cripps in P7, Lewis Manley in P8, followed on then by Aidan Carter in P number 9, P10 for Matt Richards, P11 for Callum Wilson, P12 for Ben Crisp, and last but not least, P13, John Dean Smith, P14 for Stuart Pringle. However, it does appear that both Stuart Pringle and Gareth in the pit lane. So, sorry to see them decide to not join this race. But yeah, so we'll move on from that anyway. So, here we go. Final race of the day, final race of the season. So, spirits are high. Everybody hoping for one last really good race today. Let's kick off, let's end this season with a bang. Let's do what we can, lads. Let's really have an amazing race. Anyway, so we have Jack Bonney in P2. So Jack Bonney is going to be my pick for the race victory for race 3. I know that's a very early call, maybe a very risky call as well with so many fast drivers on the grid. Chris Wilson is also another one that could be looking at the potential victory today. But let's just go through the soft tyre runners for you in this race. So, drivers that are on the soft in this race today are as follows. In race number 3, we've got Ben Crisp on the soft tyres, Ben Bennyworth also on the soft tyres, Chris Wilson on the soft tyres, watch out for him on those softs, John Dean Smith, Dale Crisp, Lewis Manley, Callum Wilson, Stuart Pringle and Gareth Boyle, but those who are not driving in the race, looks like they've decided to not enter this final race. So, that to me says that Chris Wilson's got the best chance of potentially winning this race, as well as Ben Bennyworth as well, both of those on the soft tyres. It's going to be a very interesting to see if they can make them work early on as we're coming through to the end of the formation lap to start the final race of the year. Just clarifying with race control to find out what's actually happened with our two drivers that have decided not to take the final entry, so we'll let you know as soon as possible. Okay, so here we go, we're lining ourselves up onto the grid. It's been quite a fast formation lap for Dale Crisp. He's been waiting in that first place slot for quite some time. Tyre temperatures are going to be dropping quite a lot. Not as important as Formula 1, but still you want that tyre temp at the start of the race. Another thing that's going to be interesting to watch is if Jack Bonney can get that BMW off the line nice and cleanly. We're just going to keep an eye on the rear end of the grid as well to make sure that there's no crazy incidents at the back that we miss. Anyway, get ready for the final race of the year, and we are getting ready to go. Away we go. It's a long hold and off we go. There we go. So apologies for that, I don't see any lights here in the commentary box. A good start for Dale Crisp, keeping that P1 at the start. Chris Wilson's had a flyer from the looks of it as well, and it's Josh Vincent has gone sideways into turn 1. That looks like he's managed to keep it together though, as we've got Jack Bonney already thinking about putting pressure onto Dale Crisp on this final race. Chris Wilson also looking at the outside of Ben Bennyworth going into Graham Hill Bend as we go on to the Cooper Straight for the first time, and I've just seen a BMW lose control and take out Lewis Manley at the back. There's all kinds of chaos going on at the back of the field at the moment. So looking at that, it looks like that was Callum Cripps, Matt Richards and Lewis Manley involved in that incident. So a lot of big runners in the first lap involved in that crash. So our race order is Dale Crisp, Jack Bonney, Ben Bennyworth, Chris Wilson, Charlie Keir, Josh Vincent, Aidan Carter, Lewis Manley, Ben Crisp, Callum Wilson, John Dean Smith, Matt Richards, with Callum Cripps bringing up the rear. So another eventful start to a race for Callum Cripps. Not the return he would have been hoping for. Our former champion of this series, one of the best drivers that we've seen in the championship, not being able to put that performance in today. And unfortunately that's Charlie Keir off the road there as well. We're just keeping an eye on John Dean Smith, seeing what he can do and seeing what our faster runners can do. But I tell you what, Dale Crisp has pulled out quite a nice lead early on from Jack Bonney, so we'll keep an eye on these guys as well at the front of the field. But this battle in the mid-pack is where all the action's going to be. So John Dean Smith all over the back of Callum Wilson, and then he's behind, so John Dean Smith, sorry, behind Callum Wilson, and then Matt Richards behind him. So in a BMW sandwich is John Dean Smith. Looking at the outside here at Paddock Hill Bend, going to try and get the cut back. Someone's off at Paddock Hill Bend. I can't really see who that is. I think it might have been Aidan Carter. Oh my goodness, it was Aidan Carter in the middle of the road, causing all sorts of dramas there. Some very interesting incidents going on very early on in this race, and most of them have been with our fastest drivers as well. This brings Lewis Manley up to P5, and Chris Wilson is now up to P3. He's managed to get in front of Ben Bennyworth with those soft tyres. Ben Bennyworth also putting the pressure back on to Chris Wilson as well. So we're going to cut to this battle for P3 as it's really starting to heat up here in the final race. Everything is kicking off now. All of the tensions from the season are starting to come together and come to fruition. Everyone putting their last chances in to get a really good result. So the current order is Dale Crisp, Jack Bonney, Chris Wilson, Ben Bennyworth, Lewis Manley, Josh Vincent, John Dean Smith, Matt Richards, Callum Wilson, Callum Cripps, Charlie Keir, Aidan Carter and Ben Crisp rounding out P13. So as we're watching them go through into the Sterling's corner, Chris Wilson really starting to line up Jack Bonney now as well on those soft tyres. Can Chris make the most of this race? Lining up through clearways now onto the start finish straight. Going to have a think about going for a move going into turn one, and going to want to get the moves done quickly because Lewis Manley is catching all of these drivers, and we know how fast Lewis is up the inside. Oh, and he wipes out Jack Bonney completely. I think that's going to be another penalty coming the way of Chris Wilson. We'll have to take another look at it to make sure. But it's really shaking up the order now. So now we've got Jack Bonney all the way down to P10. Chris Wilson is in P4. So our now race order is Dale Crisp, Ben Bennyworth and Lewis Manley in P3. This could be a sneaky victory here from Lewis Manley. We know how fast he is, being our champion, winning the championship before it even rounded out. So we're going to have to keep an eye on what Lewis Manley can do. He's already at the back of Ben Bennyworth. We've also got John Dean Smith and Josh Vincent battling side by side. Really nice battle for these two for 5th place, and John Dean Smith gets the job done. And now he is one of the better of the rest, with the rest of the cars quite significantly far ahead. So keeping that sort of buffer from our really, really fast drivers, Matt Richards, Callum Cripps and Aidan Carter, really struggling in this race, real far down the order. Very different race to the first two races, this one. It's always the way of these reverse grid races. They're always the most unpredictable ones. It just brings that little element of surprise in the races. Maybe we should just make all the races a reverse grid race somehow. Maybe that's a bit too gimmicky, but we will see, as Lewis Manley is still putting the pressure onto Ben Bennyworth for that second position, and Ben Bennyworth is going to have to start thinking about getting defensive soon. But Lewis Manley is on the medium tyres with Ben Bennyworth on the... I'm pretty sure that Lewis Manley is on the medium tyres as well. We'll keep an eye on that. I've got a message from Race Control. Okay, no worries. So we're just going to have a quick look on our soft tyre allocation as well, because I might be getting it wrong. It's been a long day, apologies. Lewis Manley is also on the soft tyres, yes. So Lewis Manley and Ben Bennyworth in the pound seat. Dale Crisp also on the soft tyres as well. And his lead of 1.4 seconds hasn't really come down, to be honest. I say that, and then Ben Bennyworth takes 6/10 of a second out of him. So that gap down to less than a second now. Lewis Manley putting the pressure on now, coming on the exit of Surtees onto Pilgrim's Drop. He's going to think about making a move around the outside maybe. No, he's a little bit too far back. We've also got battling between Josh Vincent and Callum Wilson a little bit further back in the field. Can see them together there. Oh, or maybe not. There it is. No, it was Matt Richards, apologies, and Josh Vincent. So Matt Richards getting that job done down the straight. Starting to see purple sectors coming up from lots of the different drivers as they're all starting to push really, really hard. They all know they're running out of time in this race. Jack Bonney has just overtaken Aidan Carter around the outside. What a move that was from Jack Bonney. Lewis Manley starting to put in some very fast lap times now, really piling on that pressure for P2. This is a beautiful exit out of Clark Curve onto the start-finish straight. He's going to go to the inside nice and early, making his call really clear. Is he going to go for the dummy, or is he going to keep it up the inside? He's going to outbrake Ben Bennyworth, and he takes P2 into Paddock Hill Bend. Really nice move there from Lewis Manley. Now he's only got one car ahead of him, and that's Dale Crisp for for the lead as we come into Druids. Manley already right on the gearbox of Dale Crisp in front of him. Chris Wilson is also coming along with these guys. However, we're yet to hear if Chris Wilson's going to have a penalty or not. It could have been a racing incident. It did look a lot like a racing incident. We'll see what the stewards have to say on that. Lewis Manley coming through here. Surtees to line up Dale Crisp going down into Pilgrim's Drop. Here we go. He's making a move onto the outside. He's pulled out very early. He must be very confident of the run he's got. If he manages to pull this off around the outside, that's going to be a very brave move. The Ford's a little bit understeery, and he's thinking better of it. Maybe he's going to try and set him up at the inside going into Westfield Bend. He thinks about it, but Dale shuts the door. Beautiful defensive move there from Dale Crisp. Really fighting tooth and nail for this race lead. Manley's lost a bit of time now, which actually is going to put him under pressure from Ben Bennyworth as we're going through into Sterling's and Sheen. So through Sheen's here as we come into Sterling's, the second to last corner on the racetrack, and back on to Clearway Straight. Chris Wilson is now having a look at Ben Bennyworth down Clearway Straight, but can't get it done. Lewis Manley now through Clearways into Clark Curve onto the start finish straight. Has a beautiful run here. Is he going to be able to do what he did on the last lap to Ben Bennyworth? He's keeping on the outside this time, so thinking a little bit differently here for Dale Crisp, and he's going to cut back in now, and that's going to give him a good run for Druids. Watch him get sucked into the car, but Dale moves defensively very early. Lewis on the outside, a little bit of contact on the braking point as Lewis can't get the job done. Dale Crisp really doing a good job holding Lewis Manley, the champion, behind him. Like, absolutely brilliant defensive driving, but this is going to cause a massive concertina effect, because look at this. John Dean Smith is also now coming to join this party, and not far behind him is Matt Richards. So if he brings these cars into the effect, that's going to be 6 cars for the lead. And look at this, Manley looking at the outside once again, getting a really good slipstream, really nice exit behind him. Chris Wilson is going for 3rd place on Ben Bennyworth. Chris Wilson's going to outbrake Ben Bennyworth and look up the inside of Manley, but that was more to just get the job locked up and done. Great job, Chris Wilson there. But we keep an eye on Lewis Manley, who's going for the lead here. Go through the high-speed right-hander of Westfield as we come up through Dingledale. Not really an overtaking spot, but it doesn't look like Lewis Manley's going to be told otherwise. Here we go through Sheen's and coming into Sterling's, the downhill awkward left-hander onto the Clearways Straight. We're coming up to the bridge now, going into Clearways and Clark Curve. So hard on the brakes, down to 4th gear. Keep the car nice and tight. Lewis is going to get a hell of a run. Look at this. He's almost on the bumper, pushing Dale Crisp down the straight. He's got to get this job done. He's really trying for the inside, but he just can't get there. Dale Crisp positioning the car perfectly on the inside to really eliminate that chance of Lewis getting through. Matt Richards sets the fastest lap of the race. John Dean Smith joins the back of the queue, and Matt Richards is not far away. Matt Richards is lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than this leading gaggle of cars. So if Lewis wants this win, he's going to have to get it done. And going up the inside of Graham Hill, he has to think better of it. And that's going to give Chris Wilson a run on Lewis Manley around the outside. Going into Surtees, down the Cooper Straight, they come hard on the brakes. Lewis Manley gets the lead somehow from Dale, and Chris Wilson follows him through. Now Lewis is going to have to just run, because Matt Richards and John Dean Smith, they're coming. In fact, Matt Richards has jumped John Dean Smith already. He's got such a pace advantage on the cars in front. Lewis and Chris, you're going to have to go and run. You're going to have to put your battle aside for just a minute, and you're going to have to work together and floor it, because otherwise you're going to get eaten up by Matt Richards. He's coming, and he's really fast, and he's hungry for 3 race wins out of 3. He really wants it. So here we go through into the second half of the circuit, and Chris Wilson now has Dale Crisp all over him. This is just concertinaing up even more. Look at this train of cars, and this is for the lead of the race. This is incredible stuff here. Dale Crisp has done a great job to hold on to P3, but Matt Richards is going to be thinking about getting Ben Bennyworth very soon. He's had a very nice exit from the final corner. Looking up this, look up the inside, going into Paddock Hill Bend as we cut from the outside camera. Beautifully done. That's exactly how you get the job done, but Ben Bennyworth is going to try and hold him true as Matt Richards runs wide onto the gravel. So he loses the position once again. John Dean Smith looking up the inside too. This is absolutely phenomenal racing. You can't look away from this one. I apologise if there's any racing going on behind, but this racing at the front is far too exciting to look away from. Lewis Manley starting to pull away a little bit now, starting to gap the field, 9/10 of a second ahead. That's what he needs to do, because Matt Richards is going to be struggling to get through this gaggle of cars. We've got a yellow in Sector 1. Someone's dropped off the track in Sector 1. I believe it is Charlie Keir, unfortunately. He seems to have resumed position. So John Dean Smith and Matt Richards seem to be looking to be battling each other as well. And John Dean Smith getting very sideways there. That's going to lose a bit of time there for John. And it looks to me that Chris Wilson and Dale Crisp are starting to keep touch as well with Lewis Manley. Oh, and that's Dale Crisp off the road there, unfortunately. Looks like he's just outdriven himself just a bit, and he hits the barrier. He's going to drop all the way down the order. That's really unfortunate for Dale. He's doing such a good job running in the top 3. One of the best races he'd done all season, so it's such a shame to see that come from him. But we've still got a lot of racing left to go. Look at this. Matt Richards is really starting to get impatient behind Ben Bennyworth now. He's thinking, I want to get this job done. I need to get this move done. I want to get in front of you. I need to get 3 out of 3. I want the 3 out of 3. It's the hardest thing to do in touring car racing, yet here we are with someone with a great chance to do it. And look at this up the inside going into Druids. He's going to get on the brakes later. Bennyworth's going to leave the door open just about. He just leaves the car's whip. He squeezes him a little bit, gets him a little bit sideways. I think that's all fair in love and war, though. That's good defensive driving there from Ben Bennyworth. Absolutely perfect car positioning as Matt Richards now really starting to lose touch with the cars in front. Chris Wilson sticking with Lewis Manley, probably thinking, you know, let's just work together. Let's pull away with each other. Let's go get a 1-2, just the 2 of us. With the rest of them, they can all find it out between them. Matt Richards now looking all over the back still with Ben Bennyworth as the lead starts to get a bit further and further away. We're already nearly on lap 10 of this race already. We're absolutely flying through this one because it's just been non-stop action from start to finish. Matt Richards still just getting real frustrated now, and look at the run he's got here. He's going to go up the inside here. No way. There's no way you can do that, Matt. He definitely thought about it, though. That's going to unsettle Ben Bennyworth as we come into Sterling's corner. I couldn't believe he tried doing it through Sheen's curve there. That would have been an absolutely mind-blowing overtake. As we're coming down Clearways, going to try set him up for Clark Curve here. Really nice tighter line there from Aidan Carter. It's going to give him a nice exit. Lots of speed on the overlap. And look at this, round the outside going into Paddock Hill Bend. Here we go. All he has to do is outbrake him now, and that'll be job done. Ooh, maybe not. Ben Bennyworth really gets really good on the brakes, but look at the exit that Richards has got as we go up the inside into Druids. Really hard on the brakes, up the inside, holds his line beautifully. Ben Bennyworth gave him the space. Job done. Right, now what can Matt Richards do about the 2 cars in front of him? He's now got 3 seconds to catch Chris Wilson and Lewis Manley in front of him, and only 5 laps to do it. But Ben Bennyworth's got back round again. You look away for 1 second to look at the gaps, and it all just kicks off once again. And look at this, John Dean Smith wants a piece of this action too. This battle for P3 is absolutely insane. Ben Bennyworth really holding his own, saying, I don't care that you're an ex-champion of this series. I'm driving faster than you. Really good moves from Ben Bennyworth in the Cupra, but look at this once again up the inside. Matt Richards outbraking Ben Bennyworth beautifully, and John Dean Smith looking to follow him through as well round the outside. That'll be a brave move round the outside as we come up into Sheen's curve through Dingledale. Really fun part of the circuit as we come into the downhill awkward left-hander of Sterling's onto Clearways straight. Now, what can John Dean Smith do about Bennyworth? Is he going to be able to do anything about him coming into Clearways? He's got a little bit of a run, but I don't think he's really close enough to really make much of it, but he might be able to set him up going into Paddock Hill Bend. Matt Richards is now running off into the distance and just hoping that he can close that gap to Chris Wilson and Lewis Manley. But look at this, across the line, round the outside, John Dean Smith, Paddock Hill Bend, hard on the brakes, nice and late, but Ben Bennyworth is so good under braking there, but he compromises his exit, which gives John a hell of a run. He looks up the outside, under the bridge, hard on the brakes, round the outside. Can John pull it off the long way round? He's side by side as they come down the hill, and they're going to go into Graham Hill. John's got the inside for Graham Hill, and he gets the move done. John Dean Smith goes up into P4, but Ben Bennyworth is not done yet. He's looking up the inside as we go into Surtees corner, hard on the brakes, and he's going to retake the position, but John's going to get a hell of a run on that outside. He's going to carry a little bit more speed. This is not done yet. They're side by side going down Pilgrim's Drop. Are we going to be side by side for the whole lap? No, Ben Bennyworth just manages to edge it in front of John Dean Smith. Brilliant driving from the pair of them to not absolutely just collide into each other and have a aeroplane accident. And John Dean Smith really thinking, right, come on, man, I need to get this job done. The top three are going. I need to get in front of you now. We're holding each other up. We're dropping back. It's not good for either of them, but in terms of a race battle for us, it's absolutely fantastic. Callum Cripps is also starting to catch this battle up too, so we might have a three-way battle very, very shortly. Lewis Manley leads now by 2.6 seconds to Chris Wilson. Matt Richards in P3, Ben Bennyworth P4, John Dean Smith P5, Callum Cripps P6, Callum Wilson P7, Aidan Carter P8. Dale Crisp has recovered to P9, so great job for Dale there. P10 for Ben Crisp, P11 for Jack Bonney, P12 for Josh Vincent, P13 for Charlie Keir, and 14th and 15th for Pringle and Boyle. And just having a bit of a breather. Apologies, just calming myself down a little bit because it all got very lively in those few laps. Some of the best racing we've seen all season here. Always the final race, it always delivers. Brands GP, it's always a fantastic circuit for racing. And look, John has not given up yet. He really, really, really wants to get in front of Ben Bennyworth. I think he's going to take a lap to try and just set this up a little bit and then work his way closer. I tell you what's also kicking off in front of these guys is Matt Richards and Chris Wilson. Matt Richards has just put in a purple first sector on this lap. Absolutely flying performance of 25.892. We've not seen that sort of first sector since qualifying. Matt Richards is absolutely on it. He really, really wants that P2. He wants the victory, but he really, really wants that P2 from Chris Wilson. And look at this, he's shaping him up beautifully through the final part of the circuit. As we go through Stirling's, Chris Wilson runs wide. This is going to give a beautiful opportunity for Matt Richards around the outside, going into clearways and then into Clark Curve, turns in, gets the grip, and that is job done for Matt Richards in P2. Now, what can he do about Lewis Manley? Is the gap of 2.8 seconds too big, or can he close that down in the final few laps? We're going to have to wait and see. The pace difference is quite large, with about 0.6 of a second faster for Matt Richards on that last lap alone, with him overtaking Chris Wilson. So the pace is there. Can he catch him? Can he do it? And Ben Bennyworth and John Dean Smith are side by side once again, and Callum Cripps has joined the party and he's jumped in front of John Dean Smith as well. Look at this, around the outside of Graham Hill to get the job done. Well done, Callum Cripps. Absolutely beautiful move there. Really took advantage of those two just really battling each other as they had their little off lap to try and regain composure and then just turn the wick up once again. Amazing battling throughout this race. It's literally not calmed down for a single second. My vocal cords hate me right now, but we continue, we carry on. So, on lap 13 of 15, so we've still got a little way to go of this race. Can my voice handle it? That's probably the most pressing question of this whole race. Anyway, John Dean Smith, what can you do now? Are you going to hold it in sixth? Are you going to try and fight Callum Cripps? Or is Callum Cripps now going to start to think about getting Ben Bennyworth? Callum Cripps would have been watching John Dean Smith behind Ben Bennyworth, seeing all the attempts at overtakes, but not being able to get it done. We also have Aidan Carter and Callum Wilson neck and neck behind these guys as well, so they could easily join this party too. This race is far from over. There's still so much that could happen as Callum Cripps really starts putting the pressure on to Ben Bennyworth now in the same way that John Dean Smith was. And look at that late move up the inside from Callum Cripps. That's really caught Ben Bennyworth off guard, but he's going to run quite wide on the exit. Can he carry the momentum? He does, and he moves perfectly defensively for Druids. Look at this. And behind them, Callum Wilson and Aidan Carter are all over each other trying to get the job done. Aidan Carter trying to do everything that he possibly can to get in front of Callum Wilson. Wherever you look in this race, it's just kicking off more and more and more as Callum Cripps now improves into P4. John Dean Smith and Ben Bennyworth are looking like they're going to resume their battle as well. So this all just continues and crescendos and keeps on building up. Anyway, gap to the lead is 2 seconds. Not really come down about, it's come down about 0.8 seconds. It's not like Matt Richards isn't trying. He's putting another purple first sector on this lap. Really trying and pushing hard, but Lewis Manley's pace is good enough to just keep that gap and keep that lead. Getting that lead and pulling away when he did has proved absolutely vital for Lewis Manley, and to win the final race of the year in the championship that he's dominated so well, he's going to be absolutely thrilled with this performance. just keeping an eye on John Dean Smith here, because I think this battle's not done yet, and behind them, Aidan Carter is looking around the outside of Callum Wilson as well. Can't get it done there, but here we go into the final part of the circuit as we come into clearways. Aidan's going to try and get a little bit of an overrun here. I think we're going to see a move going into Paddock Hill. Look at this is a classic setup of a Paddock Hill bend, and as I say that, he loses touch with him and isn't close enough to get the move done. I've cursed it just by looking at it. I apologise. Anyway, we are on to the final lap. Can you believe it? We're already on the final lap of the race. That gap down for the lead is now just 1 second. I'm going to keep an eye on that because that gap has really come down, and Matt Richards can now really see Lewis Manley. The gap is now 0.8 of a second. The pace difference is huge between Lewis Manley and Matt Richards at the moment. Can Matt Richards steal it on the final lap? Can Aidan Carter get in front of Callum Wilson? Still so many questions yet to be answered in this race. Can John Dean Smith get in front of Ben Bennyworth? There's so many battles going on that we can't keep up with all of them. John is going to be absolutely livid that he can't get this move done, and he's been following Ben Bennyworth for so long in this race. We're just going to cut to our 2 race leaders because it is the final lap, and it has to be said, a really fantastic season for Lewis Manley. Aidan Carter has just got the job done on Callum Wilson. Great job by Aidan Carter. He's around the outside. I just caught it in the background. But Lewis Manley, look at this. Real defensive driving. The gap is down to half a second as we come into the final corner. Is it going to come down to the final corner for the lead? Look at the run that Richards has got. Is it going to be side by side across the line? No. Lewis positions the car perfectly. Richards might have a try and pulling out, but no, he's just not close enough. And across the line, Lewis Manley takes the win. Matt Richards, 2nd place. Chris Wilson comes home in 3rd place. Callum Cripps comes home in 4th. And then it's John Dean Smith and Ben Bennyworth takes P5 and John Dean Smith in P6. Aidan Carter comes home P7, Callum Wilson P8, Dale Chris P9, Ben Chris P10, Jack Bonney P11, Josh Vincent P12, Charlie Keir P13. And breathe. Everybody, that was a hell of a race. That was an amazing final race. What a way to round up this season, and what a way for this man, Lewis Manley, to clamp down on that championship claim. He won the championship, he deserved the championship, and he's absolutely performed a championship drive today here at Brands Hatch to take the final race win of the season, getting himself through the order, getting into the lead, pulling the gap while Matt Richards was stuck in traffic, which proved to be absolutely vital for that race win. If he hadn't got through the traffic as quickly as he did, then we would have seen a very, very different story. But well done to Lewis Manley, well done to Matt Richards as well for that drive. Getting to P2 at the end of that race was absolutely brilliant. And Chris Wilson in 3rd place might have a penalty coming his way. We'll soon find out. Callum Cripps managed to get up there in the end after a full day of going for it. A nice drive at the end there for Callum Cripps. Nice to see our former multiple champion back and on form as well. But the day belongs to Lewis Manley. His championship secured. The happiest man in the venue. But in terms of the event winner today, it is Matt Richards who wins at Brands GP overall today. But well done to all of our competitors today. It's been an amazing championship this year, and I want to thank you all for tuning in with us. If you tuned in with us throughout the season, if you've only tuned in for us for this race, it doesn't matter. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your viewership. Hopefully for the next race, I'll be back with Dan so I don't absolutely destroy my vocal cords, but absolutely brilliant job. I want to thank all of the members at Simply Race for all of their hard work throughout the season. Well done to Annabelle, well done to Paddy, well done to Gordy, well done to Colin as well, well done to Matt. All of you have been absolutely incredible. You've really helped shape this championship and made it exactly what it is. So a big well done to those guys. Big thank you for those of you at home. We're going to round out the season by saying just a thank you, and we will see you very soon. For the championship results, please keep an eye on the website. They'll be posted very, very soon. But thank you so much for joining us this season. I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat. Goodbye.